Hey everybody, so today I'm going to be doing a little art tutorial. Dennis and Colin asked me to do it. Today we're going to be doing something super simple, something I learned probably on the first day of my art class, and that was how to draw fruit and specifically how to shade. I hope you guys are all staying well during this time because it's stuff for everybody. I've gone ahead and found a blank piece in my sketchbook. Any sort of paper is fine, even lined paper if it comes to that. Then you're going to want to find a picture. You can take your own reference. Contrast is key, easier to have a picture that has more. It could be any fruit, but I picked a pear. A pear and apple are probably the best to begin with. So then obviously you're going to need pencils. I have fancy pencils, and you don't need fancy art pencils. However, the more shades you have, for example, I have like up to 9B, which is fairly dark. So to start, you can choose to grid your thing, but that requires sizing and proportions and a bunch of other things, rulers and other supplies. So I think for the sake of the lesson, we're just gonna do a rough sketch, and then we're just gonna go off of that. One thing I see, that I used to do even, was this, but you don't want to do that. You can tell yourself it looks texturized, but in reality it just looks horrible. So I just finished my very rough outline. It took me roughly 2 or 3 minutes. It's not going to be perfect. Now I'm going to start applying the initial layers of shading. Now normally when I do this I go in with a light pencil, so if you have artist pencils I would go in with an HB. I can't seem to find my HB though, so we're going to use 2B. A normal pencil is fine. What we're going to do is you're going to outline the highlights. So I just finished doing that. It took me about a minute here. This area is the lightest, and then this area is the darkest. And then one tip that my art teacher actually gave me is that on the bottom here, when you get to sort of the end, the bottom is always super dark. And then on the highlight side, you have a dark sort of fuzz around the lighter area. I just sort of make it pop from the white background or whatever. And then on the dark side, it's normally a little bit lighter towards the edges. So that's just a tip to keep in mind. We're gonna start shading, and the technique I use is called cross-hatching. That means you're gonna take your pencil and go like this. And then like that. That is cross-hatching. And you build that up over time. And then you get a blender, but they have tortillons is another option, or you can use your finger. The finger doesn't work as well, but if you don't have it, it still works. Take this, and then we're gonna blend it. So I'm gonna work on this for a little bit, and when I'm done with my product, it'll be the first stage of the shading process. See you back in a few. Hey guys, I hope your sort of preliminary layer of shading went well. Now I'm going to show you mine. I still have to touch up everything. We have one more layer to do, and then we go in with our eraser. For erasers, you can just use a normal one on the number 2 pencil. I highly suggest one of these ones, but like the high polar sort of plastic erasers are very good at muting different tones. We're going to go on to phase 2 of shading. Now, for phase 2, I have a different shade of pencil, 4B, and that is a bit darker than the one I used before. I used 2B. Pressure is everything. Pull in my reference. This area right here, it's a little bit darker, so I'm gonna press down harder and go in more. Here it's also a little bit more dark, so we're gonna go in there more. Down here, it's also darker, so we're gonna go right here more. Just keep doing this until you're satisfied, and then we'll move on to the third step, which is the eraser. So I just finished doing the second layer. Now, the final layer is probably the most important, because what separates good drawings from bad drawings is how you accentuate the highlights and how you bring out the color. You have to create the dimension that it's sort of popping off the page, even though it's two-dimensional. So looking at this picture, I can already see that this area probably needs to be erased. As you can see, it's a little bit smudged there. And then looking in these areas, but there's a little bit of highlight right here. There's a little bit of variation, and even in the darkest parts, especially right here along the crease. In areas that are lighter, you don't necessarily have to erase the whole thing, but just make sure that it's sort of a fading, muted color. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll get back to you when I'm done. Okay, so I just went in with the eraser and marked out where I want to erase sort of bigger highlights. You're gonna want to end up going back and softening the edges of those. So this is my drawing before I soften the highlights. I lightened up this area, and now I'm gonna go soften the edges, and then we'll be done. Okay everyone, so I just softened the highlight areas with my tortillon/blender, and this is what it looks like. My trick for softening highlights is to only sort of go on the outside of the highlighted area, just so you don't get the big area. And now that is a simple shading exercise that I do sometimes when I need to warm up for bigger drawings or bigger projects. I hope you found this helpful. If you didn't, tell Dennis or Colin, and I'll work on it for next time if I do another one of these. But I hope you're staying safe. Bye.